Hey there, how are ya? I had a scare earlier this morning. Okay, let me be clear. Let me clarify. My mind created a scare this morning. My mind created all these what ifs and kind of cascaded down, pulled together and created connections between things that aren't really related, but at the time my mind was creating them, it felt very, very real. My stress was so elevated. I was getting snappy. I felt like I felt a bit of dread. I felt like a kernel of fear. Definitely was anxious. My heart was racing. All because my mind created a scare. So let's back this up. This happens to all of us. I'm no exception. Being a coach and a former therapist doesn't mean I don't have human issues too. This is a human issue. And it's not a question of whether or not, yes, I have dogs. It's not a question of whether or not you have this. It's a question of how quickly can you identify it? How quickly can you move yourself out of it? That's the difference. So I'm trying to keep my dog, the dog that's close to me, quiet at the same time as talking to you. So here's what happens. These things don't come out of nowhere. Mine actually started last night. So last night, I have to say, I have a weakness. My weakness was, I'm calling it a weakness, and that is I'm not good with bureaucracy. I'm not good with filling out extensive forms. I'm not good when some person I don't know in bureaucratic world is asking me what seemed to me to be very personal questions. And I'm just not good with, I can see the problems with the questions. That's part of it, is that I can see past the questions. And I'm like, do you recognize that XYZ could happen because of this, that, and the other? Do you recognize? No, and then they don't. Like, anyway, this is my problem. That's an issue that I have. So last night, I was filling out extensive forms, questionnaires, and assessments as a pre-check-in for my doctor's appointment today. It's just a regular appointment. But man, there was an extensive amount of stuff to have to complete. And it just rankled that piece of me that's like, bureaucracy. I don't want to answer all these questions. These are not relevant to my life. Just ask me one question instead of 20. This is not an issue for me. Just let me say, no, this is not an issue instead of having to answer all these other. Anyway, I could go on and on. That's another video. That's not the point of this video. My point with that is that I already had that happen to me, which kind of rankles me. And then my mind started creating conversations that haven't happened and may not happen, but I'm already having conversations in my head with my doctor about some of the answers or non-answers that I did on these so extensive forms. Thank God I was doing a pre-check-in online. It would really drive me nuts if I had to sit there in the waiting room and fill it out on paper. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is my mind. My mind was already having conversations, and in those conversations, I was getting irritated because I don't like this stuff. I carried that through the night and woke up this morning with that already on my mind. I'm going to see my doctor today. They're going to ask me about all these things that I didn't answer or the way I did answer them, because some of these things are put in yes or no format, and it's really not a yes or no question. Again, see, I keep drifting into those forms, that bureaucracy, but that's not the point of this. My mind was busy creating things, having conversations that have not happened and may not happen. So I was already in that perspective. And when I discovered another issue that was not related to any of this, I was already in a place of irritation. That's my point. because these cascades of thoughts do not come out of nowhere. They have a cause, they have a root. You can look back to the previous day, the previous hour, and you can see, oh, that's when it actually started. That's when I needed to, that's when I would have been best to have done something to catch it, tame it, lighten it. I didn't do that either. So this morning, when something else came up, I was already irritated because of these imaginary conversations in my head that my doctor and I are going to have today. I have not even seen my doctor yet. And so one more thing was all it took. And this one more thing had to do with health insurance. And so my mind started creating this money. I have a money. I'm in money, financial issue. I'm in financial struggles. So this touched on those financials. This health insurance issue that came up today touched on those. Here's the thing. My mind was creating all these stories, doing all these what ifs, connecting this, that, and the other. Why did this issue come up now? Oh, it must have come up because of that. Oh my gosh, I may have caused this. La, 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 la. All sorts of things. So I followed exactly what I would have told somebody else to do. Find out, get the information. So all I had to do was make one phone call. I called the pharmacy because that's where the issue popped up. I called the pharmacy. I explained, and they said, okay, let me check. They checked, and they said, oh yeah, we were incorrect. There's no copay for this. You were right. There's no copay. We were incorrect. That's all it took. And then I'm sitting there with, oh my gosh, my mind worked myself up. I was like afraid I would have to pay a copay at the doctor today. I was worried about what insurance do I have? What did I accidentally sign up for? Because I don't remember changing anything. It all used to be zero. I mean, seriously, my mind was going down all sorts of avenues with minimal information. But all I had to do was make one phone call, and that resolved the issue. This was really not an issue, is my point. It was really not an issue. And what helped make it an issue for me was I was already irritated about something. When we were already irritated, when we're already, tired, when we haven't eaten for a while, when we're under a deadline, when we're already dealing with something, one more thing can affect us so deeply, and it doesn't have to. There was really no issue. And even if my doctor and I, let's go back to the other issue, end up having some of those conversations, I can be calm about it when I put an end to those conversations my head is creating, because they're not helpful and they're not needed, and I actually have far more control over those than I realized at the time. At the time I was pulled in, at the time I was feeling the fear, I was feeling the frustration, I was feeling the stress, I was feeling the anxious, my heart was pounding, I was feeling it. But it was all based on nothing. It was based on nothing. Nothing's actually happened. Nothing has actually happened. And the one thing that happened this morning that created the scare for me was also really nothing. So, one, it's always important to pay attention to your nervous system. All those things I was feeling. And it's okay to feel things. It's okay to have thoughts. It's not a matter of trying to stop those emotions or stop those thoughts. It's a matter of noticing them, catching them, and saying, not appropriate right now. It's just not appropriate right now. Now's not the time. There's really nothing here. So let's just not do that. In a kind, self-compassionate manner and resetting your nervous system. Yeah, I have dogs. So a lot of it is about awareness. And then we also, if you really want to go deeper, which is what I do as a coach, and I love talking about these things as a speaker, and I wrote about them in my book, which you can get the first 2 chapters for free off my website. There is so much more that can be done to lessen, decrease the hold that this cascade, these things our minds create, this thought cascade, these conversations we have in our heads that don't actually occur. And we get worked up over them as if they're actually occurring. Doesn't benefit us. So much more that can be done. So just know you're not alone in that. It's perfectly human. And you also don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay in those conversations. You don't have to feed into them. Notice them, reset your nervous system, go deeper, and that's what I can help you with as a coach. Go deeper so that it happens less often and you can get out of them more quickly. And that's my message for you today. Blessings.